Hello and welcome to Electric Supply and Equipment Seminar on Connected Components Workbench and the Micro800 PLC. I am Hayden, an automation specialist with Electric Supply and Equipment. Helping me host today is Eric Hanley. He is my counterpart, also an automation specialist with Electric Supply and Equipment. Just a quick introduction to what Connected Components Workbench actually is. So CCW at the core is an integrated development environment that provides, number one, device configuration, controller programming, and HMI application development, design, and configuration. So you can kind of look at the products that you use CCW to actually configure. So we've got the Micro800 line of processors to the far left there. We've got the 440C CR30, that is the safety controller that you can actually do programming with. You've got the safety light curtains. You have the E200 overload. Of course, the PowerFlex drive, very powerful interface for the PowerFlex drive if you're not using 5000. And then the PanelView 800 line of HMI. So this piece of software is pretty powerful and actually programs quite a bit of different components for Allen-Bradley. So questions that we get a lot, that I get a lot, are, hey, Hayden, what's the difference between the standard edition and the developer edition? I've heard that you get more powerful instructions inside the developer edition, and that's not true. The instruction set is actually the same for both the standard version and the developer version. One thing to notice is that in version 12, which is the most recent version that was released, is that it contains a simulator, which we're actually going to play with in a few minutes. But the simulator only runs for 10 minutes in standard. If you need it to run longer than that, then you may want to look at getting developer, which is 24 hours. So what are the actual differences between developer and standard? If you're a 5,000 person and you absolutely have to have UDTs in order to program, then you may want to look at getting developer. You can use UDTs in standard, but you can only create them in developer. So that's kind of a big thing. Run mode changes, also known as online edits, those are only available in developer. A word of caution here, an online edit in CCW takes a significant amount of time to execute compared to a Logix Designer online edit, so much so that it may be actually worth going offline, making your edit, and downloading to the processors. So just a cautionary word there on online edit mode. If you're maybe a larger OEM, you have a lot of different machines, a lot of different versions of programs that are out there. The developer version actually has what's called an archive manager. Advanced project and code management capability is what that's all about. If you are a 5,000 user and you have a customized watch list, if you use a lot of those, there's also inside of 500, there was the custom data monitor. You don't have that capability within the standard. You still have online editing, or excuse me, not online editing. You still have the ability to go in and look at the data tables online. You can actually do monitoring, but you can't arrange a custom tag list in standard. You can do that via the SPI list in the developer edition. Lastly, intellectual property protection. You only really get that in the developer edition. You can get that for routines and user-defined function blocks. Really, the only kind of password protection that we offer is on the standard version is for the controllers themselves. So that is kind of some of the differences between standard edition and developer. So the next thing I think we talked about on the flyer was, how do I get CCW? Where do I go to download it? And we're going to talk about how you download it, and then we'll continue on with some YouTube videos after that. So the first thing is just simply Google search Connected Components Workbench. We're going to do that in just a second, but I want to point a couple of things out. One of the things that the CCW install requires that is not included is Microsoft's .NET Frameworks 3.5. You need to install that prior to installing CCW. With Windows 7, just do a Google search on .NET Frameworks. It'll take you directly to the Microsoft page. You can go ahead and do the download at that point. With Windows 10, I'm going to show you guys, it's actually easier. If you go to the type search here bar on your Windows 10 machine and type in turn Windows features on and off, it will come up as a component, which I just dragged onto the screen. And all you have to do is check this box and it will go ahead and install the .NET framework. So it's actually really easy to do in Windows 10. So I'm going to go ahead and bring up Chrome and we'll do a search for connected component. Oh, look, it's already there. Isn't that nice? So I'll hit enter. The first entry should be the same for you under the search results. So this is the landing page for CCW. And this is where you actually go to download it. So real quick, there's some introductory stuff, latest software releases. The main thing I want to point out is the hardware and software requirements. So if you'll take a look over here, with the hardware, you need at least a Core i5 standard processor and a minimum of 8 gigs of RAM. 16 is always better. And then on the operating system side, it kind of supports all of the modern day OSs, so Windows 10, Windows 8, Windows 7. I know there's a lot of folks still using Windows 7 out there, so it is supported on all of those. Notice the requirement to install the .NET frameworks before you actually install CCW. And then now, if we're actually ready to download, you can select the download the standard edition. So where this takes us on the Rockwell website is called the Product Compatibility and Download Center. You can come here and actually compare products as well as download software. What's really nice is that when we made that selection, it went ahead and entered the product that we were wanting to download. So what we have to do at this point is tell it, okay, you want to download CCW. What components of CCW do you want to download? Of course, there's always multiple components. The first thing is the actual install. So we'll select Connected Components, and that's the actual install that we'll be using. Just a quick note on firmware. Probably most folks have maybe used Control Flash before. There is a new version or a new edition of Control Flash called Control Flash Plus. It is much better. A lot of the tasks are automated for you. So I do suggest if you've not used Control Flash Plus before, check it out, do an install. Unlike the Logix 5000 processors, the Micro800 processors do ship with firmware, but you can also change the firmware if you want to. So if you see a new feature in a later version of firmware that you've got to have, it will make you more efficient, your process more efficient, then you use Control Flash Plus to change the firmware version on your Micro800. So we'll go ahead and check that. Got to have the user manuals, right? The user manuals are actually embedded in the software, so we'll check that. There's a really, really cool tool called the Remote Access Tool for the Micro800 processor. Now, it's a little bit misleading because it doesn't allow you to remotely access your Micro800. What it does is allow you to extract a data log from your Micro800. If you've ever used the Micrologix data logging tool, that's exactly the same thing. So you can set up a data log instruction inside your logic. It will take a tag value and log it to the internal memory of the Micro800 controller. And then when you're ready, you can actually connect up with this remote access tool, download the data, which will appear as a CSV. Then you can open it up in Excel and do whatever you need to do with it. So that's actually available there. Kind of a neat thing. And then you get the sample code. If you want that on your computer, you can download the sample code, but if there is the sample code website that's available, so it's completely up to you. Once I have the components selected, I'll select Downloads. And this gives me a summary of the things that I've selected to download. And now I'm going to select Download Now. And it's going to make me agree to the EULA. I think that's the next thing that comes up. So we'll say accept. And you've got two ways to do downloads. If you have multiple files to download, it's really better to use manage downloads. It basically brings up a window. It allows you to pause the download. You can resume the download, and it basically will put all of the files together that you've downloaded. So I'm a big fan of using managed downloads versus direct downloads. With direct downloads, I would have to download each of the 4 components individually. So just a lot easier. That is as far as we're going to go with how you actually locating CCW, going through the steps to download it. One of the things, I don't know if it showed us this or not, but make sure that you have your Rockwell credentials set up. So go ahead and try to, before you do the download, make sure that you've got an account on the Rockwell website. You've got your latest and greatest password. I know they require a change, I think every 6 months or something like that, but it will ask you for that if you're not logged in. Last thing I want to show you before we actually jump into CCW and do some code development is the online training that you can do. So Rockwell literally has hundreds of how-to applications on the YouTube channel for CCW. As a part of the handout, these should be live links, so we'll just select Connected Components Workbench, and it will take us to the CCW YouTube channel. And as you can see, just for that entry alone, there are over 40 short videos. Some of them are short. There's a few that are a lot longer. The one thing that I want to point out, if you're going to watch these, is that there are basic videos. You can see basic 1 of 4, 2, 3, and 4. And then there is a second set of basic videos, 1 through 4. The difference being this is revision 8. They're much older than the revision 12. I would suggest that you guys start with using the version 12 version of the basics introduction to CCW. Really good stuff.